Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 of a best of 3 between Vesely and Gonzo in the semi-finals of the Season 4 playoffs of the Steel Division 2 League. Today they are playing on Slutsk West, and on our left, in the red team playing on the Soviet side, we have Gonzo using the 3rd Guards Mechanized Corps and the Vanguard deployment type. And on our right, we have Vesely in the blue team playing on the Axis side using the 12th SS-Panzer and the Vanguard deployment type. So Gonzo quite convincingly took the first game off Vesely. Vesely did show some good plays, but ultimately Gonzo managed to get the better of him. It's going to be up to Vesely to salvage this in the second game and bring it back to 1-1 in the series so he can move on to a third game and potentially gain the victory. But Gonzo is going to be looking to seal the deal here. And once again, I do have the bans for this game, so I'll quickly list them off. First ban, 3rd Guards Tank Corps, followed up with the 3rd US Armoured, the 5th Cavalleria Motorizzata, the 1st, I think it's Panzeri Divisione, sorry, 3rd Canadian Infantry, 7th Mechanized, the Panzerlehr, and the 16th Panzer was actually banned in the second game here. So that's some interesting bans, but left open the 3rd Mechanized, and Gonzo certainly sweeped that one up. So Gonzo very comfortable in the 3rd Mechanized. I'm sure he knows very well how strong it is. It has a combination of course, Shermans, like good medium armor, but also a decent chunk of support weapons and strong infantry in form of like the partisan infantry available. And that's something that we're going to see from Gonzo. I think they have yaks for bombers and stuff like that. So fast fighter bombers with the strong infantry and medium armor. That's what you're going to see out of the 3rd Mechanized. On the side of the 12th SS, you're looking at more of a heavy armor play style with the use of Panthers most likely. There is some relatively decent artillery support as well there, but it's more or less going to be like a Panther overlooking Panzergrenz as they push forwards. And since Slutsk is quite an open map, I would expect the Panthers to be able to hold quite well against Gonzo's medium armor. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but let's have a look at the deployments. So on the left side here at the top, we've got the PTRS squad, Partisan Sniper 3 Partisan DP squads, going to be a ZIS-3 and a ZIS-2, and then also an Su-76M at the start. That's the ace unit there for the 3rd Mechanized. Partisan DP heading to the center, probably just going to take position on this hill just to hold that flag. Then towards the town, we have 2 units of Razvedka, followed up by 2 units of Partisans and a leader. So I think here, Gonzo might actually be using the Razvedka not only as recon, but also potentially as combat units to supplement the Partisans. But there's a lot of units on this bottom road. There's 4 units of Gavaria, 2 Shermans. We've got 2 MG42s, and Partisan, ZIS-3, and the PTRS there, ZIS-2. Oh, ZIS-2 and a ZIS-3. Okay. Over on the side of Vesely, 233. Flammenwerfer MG42 Panzergrenz, Aufklärer in a 222, Panther D, and the Panzer 4H, which is 2-star veterancy, upvoted to 3 due to the leader. MG42 there as well. We've got 6 units of Flammenwerfer heading into the town, followed up by a Pioneer and the Panther D. And on the bottom side, it's going to be Flammenwerfer, Aufklärer in the 222, and Panzergrenz heading to the bottom with a Panzer 4 as well. So this Panzergrenz is looking to contest this town area. That's going to come under a lot of fire from all of these units crossing the open. But I'm a bit concerned about the use of, well, the abundance of use of the Flammenwerfers here. They're not even going to the same place. Like, if they were all going into the town, I'd still be concerned, like, having 6 flamethrowers here. Looks like one of them is going to die early. 2 of them did to the PTRS. So this time around, Gonzo catching out Vesely with the PTRS. Previously, Vesely managed to kill quite a lot of Gonzo's units with those PTRS squads. So Yeah, Gonzo returning the favour there. Flammenwerfers do get into position in these trees, which will make them relatively awkward to get rid of, but just a little bit of artillery fire will do the trick there. And 3 Flammenwerfers and a position that I guess isn't that vital at all. So I'm a little confused. I thought they were just all going to head to the town, but they spread out a little bit too much there. Interestingly, Vesely using the combination of cheap two-man recon squads with armored cars again. I do like the combination. I think the 222s are even stronger than the BA-64Bs we've seen previously. But up against this kind of setup, these are going to go down very quickly. The two-man recon squads will, I guess, leave eyes for most of the, or provide eyes for most of the match. But Panther D now heading forwards. I think he's got eyes on the two Shermans here. You can see all the Gavardia pushing forwards. These Flammenwerfers are actually doing a runner. He's going to push down a load of smoke and just run away for the time being. He definitely is the right choice. These will just overwhelm his Flammenwerfers, and the two Shermans here basically can shoot them from a distance slightly and mow them down. It looks like a couple of these Flammenwerfer might actually get caught out, but nope, he's going to drop another smoke there. So Panther D is going to have to cover the bottom side. The Panzer IV at close range is in a bit of a tough spot, because if it 2v1s it will definitely die. So it's coming down to a lot of pressure. There's like a massive explosion of death waiting to happen in this area, and whichever way it goes will give a lot of ground. I feel like Gonzo's got himself backed up quite nicely though with the combination of the ZIS-2 and the ZIS-3, because then if he loses a lot of forces, at least it's going to be hard for Vesely to push back. Now these 233s are a really, really nice choice from Vesely. They're going to be able to shut down support weapons at range very well. But having saved his flamethrowers... Oh, was that a side shot? It must have been. Either that or it was just a straight up armor crack crit. That is nasty. And with that done, Gonzo is just going to be pushing straight on through. He knows he's just killed 100 odd points with that shot. And damn. That was, I don't know, pretty spectacular. These 2-star Shermans are very accurate with their first shot because of that extra veterancy. So they are going to hit, and if for a split second that show inside armor, then Gonzo might just get that shot, and he did. Quite lucky in the grand scheme of things, but still, the veterancy there paying off big time. Partisans now pushing deeper into the town. They are going to discover the pioneers here. More partisans on their way. There's loads of partisans being followed up by the Resvitka as well. I think the idea of the Resvitka is to have them in the town in case the Panther D decides to get overzealous. The Gavardi now going to be finding some Panzergrens. Panzergrens from the 12th SS are really tough to get rid of because of their fanatic trait. It means they cannot be surrendered. So even if you pin them down, you can't just like ride your tank past them in order to surrender them. Same deal here with the Pioneer. They just kind of stick there, and if you don't finish them off by killing them, like directly by shooting at them, they can get real sticky. But in this case, he's dealing with it quite well. Plenty of fire support behind these Gavardia with the two Shermans here. And it looks like the Panzer IV is engaging the Sherman. Sherman fired first. Second shot bounces though. Panzer IV gets the kill. Nice. That is very good for Vesely there trading that Sherman. But the Gavardia did manage to kill off the 222 and a lot of Vesely's infantry. So that's tough. Focke-Wulf 190 coming in with the strafing run onto the ZIS-3. Doesn't get any damage. It's pretty unfortunate. Generally, you're going to have to whittle those down with multiple runs. But you'd expect the first run to at least do a few points of damage. The things have been relatively even until Gonzo decided to put a lot of pressure onto this town. Now with the Pioneers gone here, Partisans take up the houses, and 13 to 11 in favour of Gonzo. Starts to tick onto Vesely's forces. 233 moves forwards. Looks like it got killed off by the Sherman there. Unfortunately, this Panzer IV is in a real awkward position because it's already taken one shot. You can see that it's damaged. And because it's damaged, and the Shermans can aim faster than the Panzer IV can, it means that Sherman's most likely going to fire first and kill the Panzer IV before the Panzer IV can kill the Sherman, because this Sherman isn't damaged yet. So even if the Panzer IV did get a shot off, he'd still lose the trade. We've got the Su-76 engaging the Panther D at long range. Panther D should be able to take that engagement quite convincingly, but is backing off. Might be because he doesn't want to get caught out by a side shot against the Valentine that has been pushing up through the smoke. That's very cheeky of Gonzo there. These Valentines, they have a very high rate of fire, and at closer ranges can get through that 120mm of armor. And so Vesely is backing off. But yeah, really nice use of smoke there to sneak up the Valentines and put pressure onto the Panther. Gavardia once again pushing through. Ooh, but the Panzer IV gets a shot on target. Can the Sherman reply? Oh, the Panzer IV bounced the second shot. Is it going to pay for it? Oh, it missed the third shot. That's very surprising. Sherman's on the move now, so it's very unlikely to hit. But the Su-76 is having a go. Sherman does go down. Su-76 is going to get the kill onto the damaged Panzer IV. Shoot a knock from the Zis-2. And the Su-76 onto the Panther D here. It's not going to be able to fire back. Sherman comes in at close range. Gets the shot onto the Panzer IV, but the Panzer IV replies. A lot of medium armor dead for Gonzo. Could be a chance now if Vesely gets some more infantry in to make a strong push back, supported by some of his armor. 233s are a nice choice as well, but yeah, he needs these Pioneer on the field ASAP to get back at these Gavardia, take back this flag, push back through these trees, and really starts controlling the open ground, as he should be able to do so with these Panthers. But that gun jam is really tough luck here. Oh, and even worse, the APCR shot from the Zis-2 bails out his Panther D, and now that is just a sitting duck waiting to be killed. Tough luck there for Vesely. Damn. Just when it looked like he could turn this around, the AT guns coming up trumps. Gonna take out the Panzer IV there as well. I mean, Gonzo always seems to find a way to break down what you think in your head would be really tough to do. Like personally, when I look at when I think about the 12th SS against the 3rd Mechanized in an open field engagement, surely the 12th SS wins every time. But the way that Gonzo's doing this is he's using the cover to get his tanks close, so he forces close range engagements, which allows him to trade very well with the Panzer IVs. And then he's also spreading out his AT guns enough that he can find side shots, the APCRs find crits, and that's how he's starting to break down some of these Panthers. But Vesely should have more of these up his sleeve. The main difference between these two divisions is probably going to be the infantry availability. So just like the last game where Vesely was using the 10th Guards, I think that infantry availability is going to be the crux of this game. That's really good. What's going to fail Vesely, because he's not going to be able to take back positions that are swarmed by infantry. And in this case, in the town, these Panzergrens try and move forwards, they die. Like, even with the Panthers available to cover them, the Panthers don't have strong HE, so there's not really an easy way for him to pin down or like provide decent fire support onto enemy infantry and cover. And that's where the problem lies with the 12th SS. You can use maybe some artillery, maybe some aircraft, but he's going to have a very limited amount of aircraft. I think you can maybe use Panzerwerfers, but they're not particularly strong in this patch, so it's something that I wouldn't expect him to necessarily bring. I guess the only mistake the only thing you can hope for is a mistake from Gonzo, in that if he pushes forwards into a strong defensive line like this, where you have like a lot of machine guns that can cover the open ground, then he can counter push and take ground back. But at least he's got to control these flags in the open. So for example here, he's got to get something, maybe even this half track just into the light cover here, to put pressure on that flag, because there's no reason why he shouldn't control that one at least. Focke-Wulf coming in with the bombing strike. That's got 3 250 kilogram bombs, but gets hit very hard by the double M17. Lag 3 comes in with a bombing strike onto the MG42s there. Looks like the Focke-Wulf will survive, but yeah, didn't manage to get off its bombing strike at all. This one coming in for the lag. Legs flying over these M17s on purpose. It looks like Gonzo's baiting this to try and shoot it down. He might manage to do so, it really does depend on the M17s. M17s might run out of ammo quite quickly, so Gonzo's actually got to be careful of this. You can see one of them's already ran out, so that is not good, because any future airstrikes will get through. The SU-76 is gun jam though, so it might bring in a supply vehicles to not only resupply these, but also repair that. Panther D, bounced off the side armor of the Sherman there. I can't help but feel that Vesely's left his luck behind today with this game and the last. Vespa is on the field on the top side, supporting this engagement with the MG42, taking out some units there. But Valentine's moving up with the Shermans and the SU-76 at its back. The abundance of units here is going to be tough for Vesely to deal with. He needs to get a tank up onto the ridge or something that can engage from a further range. One really nice thing to do with Panthers, especially when you're up against more medium tanks like this, and you know your opponent's going to have to get close to take you out, is overlap them, so you like leapfrog them, so that one sits at a distance taking pot shots, whilst the other one kind of helps engage at closer range to hold back the units. But a Pack 40 dying on the road there is not good for Vesely. He has brought in multiple 2-3-1s. These will get through infantry very, very fast if they get on target, so I do like the use of that, especially where the armoured support of Gonzo has now been broken down. On the bottom side, these tanks are a little bit of a problem. Again, I was mentioning how Gonzo is managing to put pressure onto Vesely here, and it's because he's managing to use the cover to get into this sort of position where he can then ambush tanks and vehicles that get close. But this is a lot of armor moving up here. Ju-188 is just providing Vesely on eyes on stuff that I'm not even sure he can deal with. This Panther D, like I said, may as well just get up on the hill at this point and leave the Panzer IV close or something. On the bottom, while these 2-3-1s, they are getting eaten alive by the Shermans. All of these support vehicles just got annihilated. And those Shermans, they're going to retreat into cover away from the Pack 40. Still only 14-10. Plenty of time for Vesely to bring this back, even though he is currently at a disadvantage. Might want to fix up this Panther D eventually if he can get chance, but quite risky. Panzergrenz trying to make a run onto this this M4, sorry, but they're going to get taken out very quickly. Leader squad there provided 3-star veterancy now onto these 2-star Shermans, and damn, they kill quickly. Lag 3 coming in with a bombing strike onto the MG42, going to take out that squad. These armoured recon squads really are the right choice here, and I do like the use of them, but he needs to make sure that they are supported properly by these Panthers, by infantry. One thing that he is kind of lacking, I feel, in this composition is Panzerschrecks. I don't know if you can get them in the 12th SS. I would assume you can. But having just like a Panzerschreck or two occasionally is like really nice for situations where your opponent's trying to hide a lot of armor in light cover. Like even on this top side here, would be a nice addition to the Panzergrenz and the Flammenwerfer here. So this 2-3-1 just like freely pushing forward at the moment. That's nice. You can see Gonzo's being forced to strafe that. He knows it's a problem. And he's trying to take it out ASAP. Actually bringing in a Sherman even to help support the main town area here, because Vesely's going to start breaking down these partisans. And the partisans are going to keep wasting their Molotovs on these armoured vehicles. They're not going to be able to do much about it. So yeah, this will eventually get the better of Gonzo's infantry and give back the position to Vesely. And this mainly comes down to what I was saying with Gonzo pushing forwards, is that it was kind of a little bit of a mistake in some ways, because he didn't really have much to gain, but a lot to lose by making that push. And it did cost him probably that flag, potentially. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition. If Vesely can get a unit of infantry in there. He should be able to. One of the infantry did get sniped here by the Panther D. Two Panther D sitting in the open have kind of taken control of this area below the town. The last of the partisans does get killed off. SBW 231 should be able to kill a Su-76 at close range, but the PDRS getting a shot in there isn't helpful. Gonna get the turret round in time? No, he's just gonna go hide. That's fair enough. 88 on the field. Tigers on the ridge now. But the Panther and Panzer IV have fallen all the way back, which ceded all of the ground to Gonzo. Gonzo is going to be quite apprehensive here, actually, about pushing forwards. Because he knows that if he goes out into the open against these tanks, he's probably going to lose. And if he takes too many losses, then the Panthers and Tigers just completely take over the game. Like with Gonzo using a Vanguard division, he's going to have a limited amount of Shermans available. And once all of those are killed, because he can't deal with the Panthers, then the Panthers are just going to have an infinite pressure on the map, which supported by like a couple units of Panzergrenz will be enough to make a lot of ground very quickly. So Gonzo's got to keep an eye on that and make sure that he doesn't throw away his lead, because he very easily could if his medium armor starts to drop rapidly. But more tankers coming in, more Cavadia. Looks like Gonzo's setting up for a substantial push on this top side. There's a lot of MG42s though. They're covered nicely by the 88, so the lag's not even getting close. Pioneer doesn't manage to dodge the Molotov. Does get the grenade off though. So trades 1 for 1 probably. As this is going to be forced to fall back and there's nothing you can really do about it. The Sherman's probably just going to kill it off. It can't surrender because it's fanatical, so the Tankos will either get it with the SMG or the Sherman will kill it off with the main gun. Ah yes, here we go. This is more like it. Get some rocket artillery on the field. The Werflammen 280mm rocket artillery. That will clean out this area and allow him to take back some more ground. Kind of surprised that these have been able to get forwards. With the two Tigers and the Panther D on the ridge, you kind of expect at least one of them to be covering the road, but none of them were. So all of the Tankos are actually getting all the way up here. Because they're armoured vehicles, the MG42s can't do anything about it. The Tankos in the open will take a lot of damage, but a couple of them are already in cover, which is going to provide a lot of threat to the Pioneers, and the Pioneers are going to waste their HE grenade on the 1 health Partisan DP squad. They're going to have to back off until they reload if they want to take that engagement again. These Pioneers actually survived in the end. They managed to get back into cover. But it's still tough for Vesely here to push back. They're still bailed out. Will he get the shot off with the Werflammen? He's going for it. Once that falls, he needs something that can push in. Either the half-tracks, the infantry, just whatever. He needs to try and surrender any units that he pins down in that location. Because at the moment he's under a lot of pressure further up here. These Gavadia and the Tankos moving in on this location. He doesn't want to give Gonzo another flag. If he goes 15-9, then that's a double tick for Gonzo and things start looking really bad. Here comes the rockets. There goes one tank that was already damaged. There goes some Gavadia. And, well, job done. Was that all of them fired? Okay, he fired 4 of the rockets. He didn't fire them all. Usually, I'd say that it's kind of a good idea to save a couple rockets so you can kind of spread them out a bit more. But in that case, it's probably a big mistake, because a couple more rockets landing on another Sherman would have really helped out. He will end up maybe killing this leader, though, because of this. And the Tiger's got line of sight down this main road, takes out the Su-76. Clean kill there. Gotta love a good Tiger, look at that. Absolute beast. There's really good line of sight all the way down the road. Sherman forced to go off into the side garden there. Pioneers taking on Gavadia. Tigers are actually moving up at close range. I think personally the Panther Ds or the Panther in general would be better for close range, or even just using like the Panzer IVs for close range engagements as opposed to the Tigers would be better. Just because the Panzer IVs like just aim a lot faster, they can trade with the Shermans quite well. Whereas if a Tiger dies to a Sherman or a Valentine at close range, then you lose a lot of points. To not a very good trade. Avtala finally get killed off there in the open, probably due to the Reservdika spotting them out. Gavardi moving back up though, and yeah, again, I'm surprised that nothing really happened here on the bottom side. He assigned that rocket strike and then nothing came of it. He's just allowing Gonzo to move stuff back into position, and like with the Panther dead on this bottom side, like much earlier, he never replaced it, so he hasn't had a good sort of presence over this big area here. And that's where Vesely's kind of missing out on the advantage of his deck. So he's got heavy armor, he's got like Panther Ds and these Tigers, but he's not really utilizing them very well to cover open areas and then use that cover on the open areas to make ground. So for example, on the bottom here, if you just replaced a Panther on the bottom, he would maintain the position here so that when the rocket strike landed, anything that fell back out of here would get killed. And then knowing that he killed all this stuff, he can start moving forwards through here, he can start moving forwards his tanks. If he gets shot at from range by AT guns, doesn't really matter. And then you can start just pushing back all of this stuff. He has to go back, he has to start hiding, then you grab this flag. And that's the sort of pressure and movement that you need to be making with these kinds of tanks. Otherwise, you waste your rockets. That's pretty much all he's doing there with the Verflammen. He put them all in, he got like one kill onto a Sherman, and then he didn't do anything about it. And now what's happened is Gonzo's come in with a bomber and done what he did to him, but Gonzo's pushing. So Gonzo's taking advantage of this bombing strike coming through in order to capture a flag. Whereas Vesely kind of didn't follow up on his artillery play, and that is again the difference between Gonzo and Vesely in this case, and why Vesely is struggling to take ground whilst Gonzo is continuing the aggression. The Tanko's there getting the better of his infantry once again, and infantry is always going to be a problem in this matchup for sure. The abundance of Tankos for Gonzo, the Gavardia backed up by Shermans makes infantry engagements very tough if the Shermans can get into the close range to support them in the first place. But if you can get the Panthers to cut them off, then the thing changes entirely. And that's when the infantry can get isolated, you can pin it down with artillery, and then you can win that way. Obviously, everything that I'm explaining is easier said than done. Like, this is Gonzo putting on a lot of pressure on Vesely. He's trying to pay attention to multiple places in the map at once, so maybe he just assigned this Verflammen to fire and then he's been too busy doing stuff on the top side to really be able to do anything about the bottom side. You know, hindsight's 20/20 at the end of the day. But from an analytical perspective, that is how Vesely could win this game, but unfortunately I feel like it's gone a little bit too far. And this Panther's obviously out of commission, so that's not really going to be able to do anything. The two Panzer IVs on the bottom might be able to blunt the Shermans a little, but that's going to be a dead Panther D, because now what Vesely is struggling with is a two-sided engagement. His Panther can only face one direction, so if a Sherman attacks him from this direction, the Panther's going to face towards it, and then he can pop one of these tanks out of the buildings here and engage the Panther from this direction, and that's going to cause side shots, which Shermans can penetrate Panthers quite easily in the side. And it does look like the armor here of Gonzo is starting to be broken down on the top. Vesely has tried to invest in that quite a lot. But the Panzer IVs here coming in. One of these turrets stuck, looks like the 88 got the better of that. And there's another two. Okay, but where's the infantry? This really doesn't work without infantry, because he can't push as aggressively into the Shermans as Gonzo can back if the infantry is not there to spot the Gavardia, because the Gavardia are always a threat to his tanks at close range. The double 37 there, taking out the Focke-Wulf. Nicely done. Another Sherman does go down, so all of the heavy armor here is now dead. Vesely making a concerted effort to take ground, is bringing in some more Panzer Grenadiers. This could be a problem, actually, of Vesely bringing in a lot of his infantry and half-tracks. Whilst half-tracks can be very nice when you're ahead, they can cost a little bit too much when you're behind. Like, every 5 infantry squads, you could afford another infantry squad if you hadn't brought a half-track. And there's always that to consider. So normally, like, you'd bring, like, maybe 1 card without a half-track and 1 card with a half-track. So when you can afford one with a half-track, you can bring it. Half-tracks aren't all that expensive, but yeah, it just means that not only are you slower to get to the front line, but it costs you that little bit more. Anyway, the Shermans are dealt with, so this is a point where the infantry is needed, because he needs to be able to spot the Gvardia in order to take back the flag. If he just tries to drive his Panzer IVs onto the flag, they're going to get killed at close range. So this is a tough point for Vesely, as he doesn't really have the time to take back the ground that he needs, and he's trying to do his best to push aggressively here, but again, not infantry to spot the Gvardia. In this case, the Gvardia is attacking the MG42, so the Panzer IV can get involved. So that's a start. But that is not good. There's this 2 there, taking out one of the half-tracks. Second half-track goes down. Off-map now coming in as well. Gonzo knows how to blunt these kinds of pushes. That's for sure. And here come the IL-4s with the lag at the front. The lag's probably going to take the couple shots from the 88, whilst the IL-4s can get in there and drop their bombs. They're both going for that 1 Panzer Grenadier. Again, you can see how Gonzo knows the priority. He knows he needs to take care of the enemy infantry, because if the infantry is not supporting the tanks, then the tanks can't do anything. They can't capture flags. They will just get basically taken out one by one. They'll get sniped by AT gun ambushes or enemy AT weapons, like enemy AT infantry, that kind of stuff. And it's a tough deal. So Vesely's just tried to make a strong armor push there, but it completely backfired. Like, without the infantry to back him up, the Panzer IVs are dead, the Panther's dead. On the bottom side, he does manage to get the rocket strike down, which has pinned the Gvardia. He needs to find them, surrender them, and then he needs to capture another flag. So he's going the tiger, he's throwing the tiger into the town to grab that one. But is there enough time left on the clock? 14 seconds. Picks out that Gvardia, that's good. I don't think so. All the Resved need to do is jump into this. And then there's also the the Molotovs. Yeah, he can't capture it in time. Minor victory, 29 minutes, 19 seconds. It was pretty close on the KD in the end. 2,885 kills, 2,450 losses. And it's not often you see Gonzo apprehensive. But there were times in that game where Gonzo was holding back because he wasn't sure about pushing any further, because he was scared of the heavy armor. But Vesely wasn't really using the heavy armor to cover the open ground and like cover the places where the tanks would need to retreat to or push through. Like, if you see a bunch of Shermans go into a light cover and you're using heavy tanks, and you don't really want to get close, because the Shermans will be able to maybe take you out. But if you kind of cover them off by sealing their escape with cover from Panthers, then as soon as you hit them with artillery, you can kill them. And that's how you can break them down. And the Panthers out in the open are quite dominant, as long as you're not allowing yourself to be side shot. And once a lot of the AT guns were kind of broken down on the bottom side, I don't think Gonzo really had much availability of those left. So, because he was spreading those all the way across the top and bottom from the start of the game. So after the start of the game, I think Gonzo would have been lacking the ability to find side shots with those AT guns. Of course, again, this is all hindsight, but there we go. Gonzo does take the second game. Congratulations to him. That is a 2-0. Move straight on to the final. And Vesely, nice try, that's for sure. I really liked the matchup. Like, the 12th SS versus 3rd Mechanized is very cool to watch. And I think Vesely certainly had a chance with a little better positioning of his heavier armor and more use of infantry. Same sort of style as his first game with the 10th Guards. The lack of infantry is what kind of caught him out. So yeah, it's tough game for him, but certainly put up a good fight against Gonzo here. So kills for Gonzo are shown now. This is the Sherman's doing very well there, getting that Panther D kill. That was ridiculous. The armor crack, that was remarkably unlucky for Vesely. I don't think luck helped Vesely at all throughout these games, but I'm not sure it would have been enough with that little bit extra luck to turn things around. There's this too, certainly paid itself off, getting the Panther D and the Panzer IV at the end, but those last lot of kills, we can probably ignore all of this, because that was just because Vesely was charging when he probably, well, to get the flags at the end, when he didn't really need to. If he'd maybe played a bit stronger earlier on, then he wouldn't have needed to rush there at the end. And the losses, it doesn't look like he traded very well. There was a couple nice Panzer IVs, and these Panthers, yeah, can of course deal with a lot of this medium armor at range, so there's that to look for. The Werfrahmen, the first time it was used, I would have loved to have seen the 6 shots going in. He was obviously microing that because he stopped it firing and then fired the second 2 the last 2 rockets of the first barrage somewhere else. But the fact he didn't have anything to follow up on it was unfortunate and disappointing, I guess, to see. But yeah, these Panzer IVs doing okay to clean up a lot of the tanks on the bottom side when Gonzo made an aggressive push. And Gonzo, I think, almost got a bit too big for his boots there with the aggressive plays of the Shermans, because as soon as those get cut down, he's got, like, again, a limited availability of those. That causes trouble on a map like Slutsk. So there you go. Have to watch out for that in the final. But yeah, commiserations to Vesely, congratulations to Gonzo. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the game. That was a very fun one to watch. That's it from me though. If you guys enjoyed it, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.